Hello, listeners. I'm Moose Jaw Matt, as you would guess, and this episode is a special edition. Something happened 2 days ago that has prompted this recording, and it happened in a place that I'm familiar with, and I take a great interest in Yellowstone National Park because I've studied there, I've been there, visited a few times, and I've enjoyed my time there, but let me share with you something that happened 2 days ago after our theme song. Two days ago in Yellowstone National Park was an explosion. A video was put out online, which someone shared with me, I had not heard of or seen, and in the video you see this huge explosion as people are walking on a boardwalk, and it goes from what seems like a typical geyser. Old Faithful is the most well-known geyser in the world, as far as I know, and so you expect it, but this explosion went beyond that. Rock, dust, debris shot into the air, and people realized it and then started to run. It caused so much damage that the boardwalk was demolished in some spots and pretty much just doesn't exist. It's all scattered around. The question is, what caused this? It was a hydrothermal explosion. If you take that first word, hydrothermal, it's actually two words, hydro, which means water, and thermal, which is related to heat or temperature. So when water underground heats up very quickly, it builds up a lot of pressure. Imagine a stove or a pot on your stove, I should say, and there's water inside and it's getting heated up. It starts to shake the lid perhaps and lets you know that it's time for tea or whatever it is you're going to do with that hot water. Put the spaghetti noodles in or etc. That's pretty much what's happening underneath of Yellowstone, at least the land. It's happening beneath the feet. There's a lot of temperature changes, a lot of heat, a lot of pressure, and the water turns into steam, becomes very hot, pressurized, and needs to escape in some way. And if it changes temperature fast enough and there's not enough of an escape, it'll just explode the rock. It'll say, forget that, I'm not waiting. Boom, and there it goes. That's what happened 2 days ago, July 23 in the morning. I read one statement where someone mentioned that this was not volcanic activity, which is a little bit ridiculous because the whole thing is a giant volcano. They call it the Yellowstone caldera. Everything underneath the surface is volcanic activity. It's a super volcano. People are walking on boardwalks, and we imagine it's safe, but it's a big volcano. As big as the explosion seems to us, it's actually small, according to Michael Poland, who's the scientist in charge there. They can get much larger. Sometimes these hydrothermal explosions can blast hundreds of feet up into the air. By the way, if you haven't seen the video, it's worth checking out online. It's pretty interesting, and I'm grateful that someone was actually there to record it, to see what it looks like. This was in Biscuit Basin, by the way. I didn't see any biscuits, I didn't see any gravy, but there was an explosion going on, and this is not uncommon. Like I said, Yellowstone is a volcano. There's a lot of heat, temperature changes, pressure underneath the earth, and that's what's causing all this hydrothermal, geothermal activity over there. Now, according to Washington State Standard, which looks like a news source based in Washington State, not too far away from Wyoming, they say, based on the occurrence of large hydrothermal explosion events over the past 16,000 years, an explosion large enough to create a 100-foot meter, that's 328 feet, wide crater might be expected every few hundred years. What's concerning to me is that my timeline is much shorter than theirs. I've studied in Yellowstone, I've taken classes, and the timelines that are often associated with Yellowstone National Park or the Grand Canyon are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of years. And yet my timeline what I see, the evidence I believe in, is much shorter, much less. I'm not buying the 16,000 year stuff. I think events like this could happen more often than people realize. In fact, I had one professor, when we were about to go into Yellowstone, someone said, well, what if it explodes? And the professor said, well, at least we'll have front row seats, because if Yellowstone explodes, it's going to be massive. For comparison, Mount St. Helens, the crater at Mount St. Helens was about 1/4 of a mile across before it erupted. Now it's about 1 mile across. The caldera in Yellowstone National Park is about 30 miles across. So we're talking almost exponentially larger. There was a magma chamber beneath Mount St. Helens, but there's a magma chamber underneath of Yellowstone, which is even larger. If or when Yellowstone erupts, the whole world will know about it in some way, whether they hear it, whether they see ash in the sky, or whether it completely changes the weather for weeks. I think everyone on the planet will know in some way. This explosion, though, has made me realize something. It's reminded me that we like to pretend like we're safe. We're walking on boardwalks in Yellowstone. It's a lovely national park. We've paid our parking fees. We're going to go to the gift shop later and get stickers. And yet, when we go to Yellowstone National Park as humans, we are visiting a live volcano. Now, it's not erupting, but there's obviously stuff happening below the surface. Life is unpredictable. We like to pretend like things are going to go on and they're safe. We don't know what's going to happen today. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, or if we have a tomorrow. Now, that's not supposed to scare us. That's actually, to me, a little bit freeing. We don't have to control things. There is someone else who is ultimately in charge of the end results. We came into this world without anything, and we're going to go out of this world without anything. But I can live the best I can now. And actually, the people who hold loosely to this life, not trying to control and hold on as if this is the only thing we have, but those who hold loosely to life, knowing that it could be taken away any minute, are usually living their best life. We have one life to live. Let's live it well. And quite honestly, I'm not investing all of my chickens into this life now. I'm living for something better in the future. Listeners, thank you for joining me. I'm Moose Jaw Matt. Until next time, keep exploring your world.